Feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges and seeking healing? Welcome to Your Love Talk, a safe haven where you'll discover effective strategies to overcome obstacles. Join Dr. Beverly Booth as she explores inspiring tales of resilience from individuals who have triumphed over adversity, emerging stronger and more fulfilled. Unleash your inner strength and embark on a journey of transformation. Now, here's your host, Dr. Beverly.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Your Love Talk. I am thrilled to welcome Monique Vaughter to this podcast episode. As a certified life coach and the founder of Radiant Reflections of You, Monique has transformed her life from a victim of domestic violence to a beacon of hope. Her coaching practice is a testament to her dedication to guiding and supporting others. Having experienced the challenges of toxic relationships, she understands the importance of breaking free to heal. Her journey is a powerful example that it's possible to have a life filled with freedom, purpose, and self-love when you choose to break unhealthy relationship patterns. Listen to Monique's inspiring story of transformation. Hi, Monique. It is so nice to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. I actually met you a couple weeks ago, and you were actually talking about a little bit about your life story, and I thought you'd be a wonderful person, a really good person to be on the podcast. So thank you for agreeing to share your story today.
You are very welcome.
So you are a life coach, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about the work that you do.
Yes, I'm a life coach. I danced around the career field for a number of years. I looked at counseling, I looked at psychology, I looked at social work, and those things never quite panned out. But as I continued to search, I ran across the field of life coaching. And I thought that sounds like something I would enjoy doing. The crux of it was you're encouraging people to reach a goal that they've set. I'm also Army. I'm an Army vet. I did 29 years. And funny story, I was in one of my courses and one of my coworkers or students, not my student, but a person in the class said, you'd be a great coach. So that kind of stuck with me. And that was about 10 years ago. So I'm glad to have finally arrived in this field. I got certified a couple of years ago, and I also have a certification as a trauma specialist. And those things just really spoke to me, and I'm hoping to be used by God in that field.
Nice. And that was a confirmation from someone in your class to pursue life coaching.
Yes, long before I was even aware of what a life coach was.
Got it. So what inspired you to move in this direction?
I love helping people. I love being an encourager. It's great to have someone to hear you and see you when you feel lost in a crowd or you don't feel validated. It's good to come alongside someone and say, I see you, and I'm happy to walk with you to whatever area you're trying to reach. And I think God has really gifted me with that ability.
Okay. So one of the things that I heard when you were talking about your story was that you actually went through some adversities that you had to overcome. Can you share that with the audience?
Yes, I can. I am a domestic violence survivor. That's not something that people like talking about, especially in the church or just environments, just in general. No one wants to hear about these difficult challenges. I found myself in a situation of that nature. And people say when you're married, it's difficult. The first year is your hardest year. So I assumed that, this is what they were talking about. So I prayed and prayed and just continued to pour my heart out to God to help me get over this hurdle, to get through this valley, to hopefully, the sun shining on the other side. But it takes two people in this relationship to make that happen. Me and Jesus were on one accord, but the other individual was not. And things just spiraled down consistently. And I met a social worker as I was departing the army. And, we had some conversations that made me become aware that what was happening was not right. So from that moment on, I continued speaking with her and just became aware that this is not something that I deserve. I had lost my self-worth. I didn't see myself as valuable for some reason. And at that time, I just continued to try and encourage myself. I went through an organization called Time to Fly. And with that organization, they kind of give you scriptural reasons for God's view of you, being that God loves you, God is here for you. And because I was brought up in a Pentecostal environment, we were taught that you're not supposed to divorce. There were only certain reasons you could do that. And it's not like I was really focused on one of those areas. Domestic violence was something that, again, people just don't talk about. But through this course, she gave me scriptural references that said that God loves me. I'm a valuable daughter to him, and he doesn't want his child to be hurt. Now, physical violence is very obvious. Black eyes, broken bones, things of that nature. But when you come to verbal, emotional, financial, and all those unseen pains, it's a lot more difficult to make the call. That also is abuse.
Yes. So what I'm hearing you say is when you got married, that there was more emotional, verbal abuse, financial as well, that you were not really taken care of. So there wasn't the physical, but you realized that even if it's not physical, the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse is abuse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And physical wounds do heal, but those unseen wounds take a lot of years to get over, a lot of years to heal from. I remember, my God, about 45 or so years ago, a friend of mine was telling me about her husband and things that were occurring. And I was thinking, well, if this ever was to happen to me, I would just leave. You have these positions, having not walked the path on what you would do if you were in a situation. And I found myself in the situation. And I thought, my God, well, I didn't do what I said I would do 35, 40 years ago, which is just to leave. And people often ask, why do you stay? If you're being hurt, you're not being supported, you're just being torn apart, literally day by day, why do you stay? And my answer is you stay because you hope it'll get better. You hope things will change. You hope things will revert back to how it was when you first met them. They didn't come right off the bat just being ugly or being violent or being abusive. It's something you're slowly immersed into. A good example is someone had this scenario of how do you boil a frog? So if the water was boiling hot and you drop the frog in, he'll jump right out. But if the frog is in the water and you slowly turn the heat up, you literally can boil that frog to death. And that's because it was a gradual thing. And that's how these individuals operate. They gradually do things day by day, just stripping you away of your self-confidence, of your self-worth. And pretty soon, you think you're nothing and you have to stay in it. But I'm here to say that you don't have to stay there.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of courage to be able to speak your truth and to be able to say, you know what, this is what I went through. And realizing that you're not alone. And many people think they are alone. And I like what you said. When you're not in it, you can also look at someone else and say, well, why do they stay? But until you have walked that path, that's when you understand better how difficult it is to leave when you've made a commitment.
Very much so. Awareness is the first key. Now, as I said, this was my second marriage. The first marriage was physical. So that was very black and white. And even with that, I remember the first time that he put his hands on me. I was very self-sufficient. So I sold my house and I just uprooted everything and moved to where he was. And we got married. And within a month, he was choking me, threw me against the wall and was choking me. And I was just so shocked. I just didn't know what to do, but found myself trying to rationalize, well, he didn't hit me. Choking me is not good, but he didn't hit me. And again, we were in month one within one of our marriage. So I tried to survive, not accepting of the abuse, but just trying to get through it. After all, I had uprooted my entire life to join this man. And we were in church together. And the last straw was we were talking to the pastor, and he sat right there and lied in church. So I thought after that, if you're going to lie to the pastor in the church, I'm done. So I told my dad, and my dad said to leave. So my dad and my brother came to get me, and we departed the area, right then and there. So that was very crystal clear. He put his hands on me. That was my first marriage. So I was very angry, just very, very angry. I did seek out counseling, but it wasn't spiritually based counseling. Nonetheless, it was a good counselor, and she helped me to understand and focus and work on some things. And I thought I was healed and well enough to venture out there again. And I did, and literally walked into the same thing. But this time it was not physical, but just every other unseen abuse. And I'm very spiritually grounded. And I thought, well, we all profess that we're saved and that we know Jesus, so we'll pray our way through. But it takes both the husband and the wife to be on that same path if it's to be gotten through. And it wasn't.
So how long were you married to each of these men?
The first man for 1 year, a little bit over a year, and the second one, 10 years.
So 10 years is a very long time as well.
It is a very long time. And my thought was, this is my second marriage. I've got to make this one work. And not only that, we have a child. We both are professing Christians. We were in church every Sunday. He was even at times and in the pulpit speaking a word. But it was kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing. He had one face for the outside public and a very different face for us when we were at home. And it's something, again, the church, I think that they just don't know how to navigate abuse. I told the pastor, and he kind of said, well, now, did you misunderstand something? Did you missee something? Trying to make me feel as though I made an error in what I was experiencing in my home. And for a while I thought, well, maybe he's right. Maybe I am misconstruing something, but when the ball just continued to roll and years were passing and it was horrible. It was hurtful. I felt very alone. And because I am a believer, I don't believe in having affairs or infidelity and things like that. It's like literally, I don't have a husband at home, but I can't even go out to seek the comfort of somebody else. And the people that I thought would comfort and support me don't get it, or they don't want to they don't want to see it. They don't know what to say. And what they did say wasn't of assistance to me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Oftentimes the church don't always know how to deal with the issue of domestic abuse. There is such a focus on staying together, making your marriage work, that oftentimes they overlook that there is abuse going on. And it's important
Yes.
to have the individual in that relationship be safe.
Yes. Yes. And not just physically safe, but emotionally and financially and all the things that a husband should do. You're supposed to take care of your family. I mean, even Jesus speaks of a man not taking care of their family is worse than, I believe, an infidel, I believe. It's not something, it's frowned upon in God's eyes, even to the point of, he says, if you speak harshly to your wife, that God won't hear your prayers. And again, that's kind of telling the husband, you're supposed to love your wife as you love yourself. And that wasn't happening. And many, many years later, as I've continued to heal and to view myself as a valuable daughter of God, my husbands, they spoke from a place of trauma, hurt, and pain in their childhood or other relationships. And they hadn't got to a point of realizing that that's not right, for one, and to try and seek out healing for themselves. I think that's the first step, is awareness that, something isn't right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Oftentimes there is trauma from your past, from your childhood, that not been resolved. And we often take those wounds, those trauma into our adult relationships.
Yes.
Do you feel that there was a reason why you were drawn to these type of men?
That is an excellent question. And I see a counselor, and I'm looking at myself, being that I've married not one, but two men who possess those same characteristics. So something in me, possibly from childhood, I viewed myself as not valued, and that I had to accept or take whatever they threw at me just for the sake of being in that relationship. So I'm learning to value myself, and I'm fully aware now, but I continue to seek healing, primarily with God, through God, and also with my counselor. So it's a journey I'm still on. I don't know if you ever reach the pinnacle of I'm totally healed and done, because we're in a fallen world, and there's so many things that happen out here. We may not see this beautiful new earth with no hurt and pain until Jesus returns. But for now, I continue to work on me, just getting as healthy and whole as I can.
I like that. I always tell my clients that healing is a lifetime process.
Okay.
We're always going to go through some triggers, but always being aware of where it's come from and doing the work and being intentional to do the work is so important to heal.
Yes. Yes. And I want to be the best example for my son. Mm-hmm. I didn't want him growing up thinking that this is how marriage is, which was very divided. So in my mind, marriage should not be that way. We're joining together with God, and I wasn't experiencing that.
Yes. So Monique, what was the motivating factor that made you say no more?
That motivating factor was when I saw the hurt in my son's eyes. Again, in my mind, I still, at that time, didn't feel valued. So I thought, well, I've made this decision. I can continue to fight and try and protect myself because I chose this. But this innocent little person did not choose this. And I know a lot of times couples stay together for their children. But let's see, my little person was maybe 3 years old. And he said one day, "Mommy, is daddy mean to you?" And I thought, oh my God, you're aware, you see it. And then another instance was, he said, daddy doesn't like me. And that just broke my heart. So those were crystal clear indicators that this wasn't healthy. And again, I'm old enough to fight for myself, but my little person wasn't. So I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So I prepared to leave and did so.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. We oftentimes don't always realize that children are impacted as well when you're in a relationship that's not healthy.
Yes.
Sometimes we focus on, as you mentioned, we try to stay together, couples try to stay together because they want the kids to not have a broken family. But yes, they can be very impacted in a negative way when the couple is arguing and there's abuse going on and the kids are witnessing that.
Yes. Yes.
How did you help your son deal with the separation and eventual divorce?
It was very difficult. He loves his dad so much. And I had him see a counselor to process his anger, I'm not sure all the emotions that he felt, but I wanted him to have some help in processing those things. I was so broken myself that I know that I wasn't my best self to be able to pour into him to help him heal. I believe he was going into kindergarten, so he was 5 years old. And he said he wanted to die. And that just sent me right into overdrive, as in, how do you even know about death? What made you say you don't want to be here? So I immediately went out and found a counselor and went through that process. Again, everything stopped for me. My focus was on my child. So we did that and just continued to heal. Coping techniques and awareness and understanding. It was just a shock to me to hear him say that. So I can't even imagine what he was feeling in himself to verbalize as a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you were able to recognize that he needed support outside of you.
Yes.
And that you were able to get him the help that he needed at that age. So you mentioned support that you had, and you mentioned A Time to Fly. And I'm familiar with A Time to Fly. I think I went to a banquet because Michelle.
Yes.
Yes. So were there other support systems in your life to help you navigate through this difficult time?
Yes. I've got a group of friends from college. And I would say at this point, my God, we've known each other over 40 years. And I've got some other very good childhood friends. And he's like my brother. One day I was talking to him. He was like, it's good to hear you laugh. And I was like, wow, have I been that far removed from myself that I've lost my laughter? So that was just another indicator that, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. So you were finding yourself again.
Yes. And that's a difficult journey too, because I was a chameleon. So at that time, I was just trying to bend and fit whatever is going to make you happy, whatever is going to make you allow us to have a good evening, whatever is going to, make things like they were. It's like walking on eggshells. And it's just so stressful. You don't know what to say. Should I say it? Should I not say it? Should I do this? Should I not do that? So it just really tears you apart. because you're trying to figure out what's going to make this person happy. And then I got to a point like, you know what? I can't make you happy. You are clearly not happy. And furthermore, it's not my job to make you happy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so important to understand that truth, that you cannot make someone else happy. And joy actually comes from within. And if you're not healed, then you haven't done your work to be able to be in a healthy relationship. So I'm glad that you were able to recognize that. And obviously, with a son, you had to somehow figure out then how to co-parent. How did you do that?
Yes, it was a journey, lots of ugly times. I think the most hurtful was when he was, supposed to pick him up for the weekend. He's got his little bags packed and he's waiting and waiting and waiting, and he doesn't show up. So that was very hurtful. My ex-husband was very angry. I couldn't really understand why. It's like, you made this. I tried overly hard to make it work, and you apparently didn't want it to work. So there's no need to be angry now. So the thing is now, let's try to put forth our best effort to ensure that our child will be as healthy as possible. So that was a very turbulent journey. I would venture to say that we're at our best co-parenting stage right now. And I pray that it continues to get better and better as, we heal. I'm hoping that he seeks healing for himself and for his children. I mean, that's my prayer, for healing and wholeness for him to be a better reflection of a parent. Yeah.
And Monique, when you're able to get to that place where you're able to pray for someone who has hurt you, you know that you've been doing the work of forgiveness.
Yes. And that has been major in where I am now. As I said, I went through a range of emotions, from anger to hurt, shame. And, you get stuck for a while. And while you're stuck, it's just not a good place to be. So even to the point of trying to convey that pain to our child. And that's not his job. That is not a child's job to carry our hurt and pain. I mean, even the Bible says, honor your mother and your father. Now, I will not call what either of us did in a wrong way right. So I will call right and wrong is wrong. And I tell our child that your dad runs his house one way and I run mine another way. And, he's old enough now to understand that wasn't quite right, what happened. And he sees it. So I don't have to tell him.
Yes, I like that.
Yes.
The fact that you understand that you can't control what someone else does, what he does in his home. You can only control what you do in your home.
Correct.
I like that. And so when you're looking at the lessons that you've learned in this journey, what were some of them?
Wow. The lessons learned are pay attention to the red flags. I saw things and I thought, well, love will fix it. Well, I'll pray about it and, somehow it will miraculously just, be okay. That's not the case. Be fully present in yourself. Know who you are. If there are things that are simply non-negotiable, don't accept them. We do teach people how to treat us. If I allow you to disrespect me and I don't say anything, the person thinks, well, it's okay that I do that, when in fact, it's not okay. Just be aware. Look at the person's family. If you see major chaos and things that you don't want to be a part of, then you shouldn't be a part of them. Don't invite them into your life. If there are characteristics that you aren't agreeable with, if you have children, guess what? Those characteristics are going to play a part in rearing your child. So they say you have to be equally yoked. It just doesn't mean you're saved and I saved, but we have some of the same core values. Some of those things just makes walking together easier, in my opinion.
Those are great lessons, Monique. And one of the things you mentioned is the importance of not getting stuck in holding on to shame. Shame can keep us very stuck.
Yes.
And what also came to me as you were talking is the importance of having self-worth, knowing your values.
Yes.
Because once you know yourself, then you're able to be more aware of those red flags that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And knowing that, okay, you know what? I am not going to enter into something that is not going to be in line with my beliefs and what I know
Yes.
I deserve.
Yes. Yes. And it takes time to figure that out. I am actually right now working with a counselor to find out, why did I have a low self-worth? Where did that come from? I like getting to the root of things. I guess I'm just wired that way. So trying to figure out the why, where did it come from? Now, I was born in 67. My parents got married in 66. And I saw a newspaper clipping, of their marriage. And it had white and Negro. And I was born a year later. So that means my parents grew up in a time of segregation and just a lot of racial difficulties and challenges. So I imagine, they were fighting those fights, and they did the best they knew how to do with me and I have a brother. So I'm still piecing together the dynamics of that. They're both deceased now. My mom died when I was 18. And my dad died, I would venture to say, in my 30s. So, I can't ask them questions about what they experienced growing up and things like that. But somewhere in there, I had apparently a void or something. So I'm seeking out, I'm looking in myself to figure out what it was. And even if I can't figure that out, I do know that now I am valued. That the teaching with Time to Fly really made that crystal clear for me. That, God sees me, God hears me. He doesn't want me hurt. He values me. He loves me. I'm one of his children. And people that have children, you want the very best for your child. And God wants that for me. And now I am fully aware of that, and I walk in that. And to keep myself aligned in that vein, I remind myself daily just to continue strengthening those muscles so that I don't fall into that situation again.
I love your journey, Monique. I love that journey, and being able to go deep within to understand where your struggles came from. And knowing now how worthy you are to receive the love that you deserve.
Yes. Yes.
So, Monique, what would you tell others who are in domestic violence situations? They don't know who to turn to. And especially even those who are raised in the church, and the church does not know how to counsel them. And so they feel really stuck. What would
Yes. Wow. I have been there. I've been there twice in the church, actually close to the pastor, where I could actually say, Pastor so-and-so it's going on. Would you talk with us? Would you help us? And as I said, the Jekyll and Hyde thing, they put on a different face in front of the pastor. I sought out Time to Fly. They helped me. I sought out other entities. Another one, it's called Laws. And they also teach courses about creating a safety plan, about having, if you have to run, have a bag and some money where you can just grab your bag and just run. Having things ready, having some people you can trust and tell, this is what's going on. I may need to stay with you for a couple of days or just to help you be in a safe place while you figure out what you want to do. I mean, you vacillate so much back and forth while you're going through this. I recall one time that with my first husband, it was physical. And I didn't grow up fighting. So I'm like, I don't do this fighting thing. So I called 911 and then I hung up. But, 911, they call you back. So they called me back, told me what was going on. And even then, I was afraid to say what had happened. I mean, in your own mind, you vacillate between what to do. But these groups, these outside entities will help equip you on the right now, what do you do? There's also a number, I believe it's called SAFE. You can call that number and the person on the other end of the line will give you instructions on some things you can do. But those are a few things, but the very first thing is being aware, your awareness that it's not right. Until you become aware, you're not likely to take action. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for these resources. I also like what you said, and I want people to remember this. There's got to be a safety plan. Every situation is different. And sometimes you might be in a situation where you're afraid that you may not be able to come out alive if you leave. And so being able to have these outside resources to help guide you can be very, very helpful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So Monique, this is called Your Love Talk, and it really focuses on some of those affirmations we give ourselves, especially when you go through days of struggle and you want to be able to keep going. Are there words of affirmation that you give yourself to keep going?
Yes. Mine tend to be biblically based. I know one that comes to mind is that, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And just being able to feel the love of God. He is there. He's not forgotten you. Yeah, I'm kind of stumped right now, but
no, I like that. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I think that's such an important scripture to recite, to remember, because that reminds us of our worth.
Yes.
Love that one.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So Monique, how do people find you?
Well, I am an entrepreneur and I am now standing up my life coaching business. The name is Radiant Reflections of You. And it's just the letter U, not YOU. They can find me there. And I'm working out my business plan. So I have this message, I have the gift, and I'm trying to determine, how to promote myself right now. Even the Bible says, your gift will make room for you. But that's where I am right now. That website, you can schedule appointments right there.
Hey, and we'll have that in the show notes as well.
Okay.
So I want to thank you so much for being a guest today. I want to thank you for being so open and so vulnerable to be able to share your story of pain, hurt, abuse, but yet resilience and wholeness. So thank you for your vulnerability. I appreciate your presence today.
You are very welcome.
Thanks, Monique, for your willingness to share your story. You have worked to recognize your worth and the importance of being safe in a relationship. No one deserves to be hurt and treated disrespectfully. It takes courage to stand up for yourself, and that's what you did. Your faith helped you to move past your fears. Your story will help countless women who find themselves in relationships that do not serve them. Thank you for turning your pain into your passion by helping others through your coaching practice. If you are in a domestic violence relationship and need help, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at thehotline.org. I will leave you with 2 affirmations from my Love Talk card deck. The first is, I let people in my heart who understand my worth. And the second is, I am worthy to receive a love that is pure and true. For additional resources or to purchase the Love Talk card decks or my book Mended, Healing Your Heart After a Broken Relationship, please visit yourlovetalk.com. Please subscribe or follow this podcast for new episode releases as we continue to bring you inspiring stories and valuable resources. Thank you for tuning in today. This is Dr. Beverly from Your Love Talk. Blessings.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Your Love Talk. Remember, you're never alone in your struggles. Take the time to affirm yourself daily as an act of love to yourself. And know that this podcast is here to offer genuine support and guidance whenever you need it. For more insightful and transformative discussions, visit yourlovetalk.com to explore additional episodes. Take the next step forward with courage, knowing you can overcome any challenge. That's all for today. Until next time.